What are you in the 1% of? If I shake my head in a certain way, I can give myself an orgasm. Never met anyone who can do that. I am one of only 1,300 board-certified Shrezul assault nurse examiners for the adult and adolescent population in the world. I think Toots had its 2%, but I'm a ginger. I'm naturally ambidextrous. Apparently that's something only 1% of people naturally are. I can use both right and left hands ably for any task. For example, I often switch which hand I write with based on how I'm sitting. It's worth noting natural ambidexterity is not the same as learned or acquired ambidexterity. For example, left-handed people often have to use things designed for right-handed people, but otherwise are left-handed. I'm of the 0.002% of people with osteoporosis. This freaked the shoot out of me, because when I was diagnosed the first thing the doctor said was, "Wow, I've never seen this in anything but textbooks before." Not me, but my dad. He was born with a backwards heart and didn't find out till his heart attack a few years ago, and it actually saved his life. His doctor later told him that after being a doctor for over 30 years he'd never seen someone with a backwards heart, and that apparently 1% of people on the planet have it. I have AB blood type. Less than 1% of the world's population have it. I am diagnosed with visual snow syndrome, basically seeing through static. It may not be rare as thought, but I am one of very few people to be formally diagnosed. I have a double gene mutation that makes me highly resistant or even immune to the HIV virus. Far less than 1% of people make their living creating crossword puzzles. I've also written 5 novels, 3 of which were published. Cancer survivor. Think that's 5%. I had it 3 freaking times. Not as interesting or cool as others, but I'm in the 1% of the population that has no immunity to rubella even though I've been vaccinated for it several times. Apparently some people's bodies don't take to some vaccinations. Fine with everything else like mumps, measles, etc. It's just the rubella. I've also got type 2 Duane's syndrome in my right eye. Duane's being an uncommon eye condition anyway. Right eye being least common to have it in, and type 2 the least common of its type out of the 3 types. Won the Duane's lottery with it one. Hyperhidrosis. Excessively sweaty armpits for no reason. I could be sitting there completely at ease and sweat rolls down my sides from my pits. I have found a product to fix the issue, however I know no one else who has the same issue personally. So apparently my left eye is 32 millimeters. The average size is 21-27 mm. My eye doctor said it was neat. I fell off a 100-foot cliff and landed headfirst on rocks. Broke my neck and back. Smashed up a lot of my body. Had to travel about a mile to find help immediately after the fall. Doctor said I caused more damage by trying to walk for help, but would have bled out if I stayed where I fell. 15 months later, I am powerlifting and ran a half marathon. Should not be alive, much less be able to walk. I survived childhood cancer. I think just getting it at all is pretty rare. Everyone is born with a space in the base of your skull. I have an enlarged space. The doctor called it an enlarged cisterna magna. Having it isn't what makes me part of the 1%. It's the fact that it hasn't caused me any trouble or neurological issues that puts me there. It was only found when I had an MRI for migraines. I'm one of only 200 deaf pilots in the world and one of only 4 that are commonly known of in the world with commercial and instrument training. I'm also one of the only deaf people who hold both a pilot's license and a commercial driver's license. I'm a totally in the 0.2% of something. People who have a rather nasty reaction to the blood thinner, heparin. Lost half my toes because of how lucky I am. The Binding of Isaac. As of now, exactly 1% of players have all 637 achievements on Steam. Guitar Hero. I was a world-ranked player back when it was more popular and won every tournament I ever attended. Typing in my PC. I can type up to 170 WPM sometimes, and in the human benchmark site this 1%. I held a second-place world record for the Mushroom Gorge time trial in Miracurtwi for 15 minutes. I held a senior reactor operator and pilot license at the same time. I've been in 2 helicopter crashes and 1 plane crash. There is only a small group of people who have survived that many crashes. I'm also not a pilot. Mirror writing. Writing the same exact thing with my left hand, except backwards and to the left, while I write it normally and with my right hand. Survival. I fell 25 feet out of a window when I was about 2 years old. I've also been hit by a car that was traveling over 50 miles per hour, 80.4 km/h. I've had 2 near drownings. I was also held hostage at gunpoint for over 3 hours. All of these things happened before my 14th birthday. I can make my eyes shake, voluntary nystagmus, and I can wiggle my ears. It was a lot more impressive when I was 7. I had pancreatic cancer last year. Out of 10,000 patients, they normally find 100 who have another form of this cancer who kill a little slower, like in 2 years, instead of months. I was one of the 100. Out of those, normally 15 can have surgery. I was one of them. Out of those 15, some die and some come back to basically normal life. That's about a 0.07% chance in all. I am still one of them. I should be dead by now. Performing musicians who can play the complete well-tempered clavier. Books 1 and 2. The well-tempered clavier is 2 sets of preludes and fugues in all 24 major and minor keys for keyboard by J.S. Bach, BWV 846-893. Being 6 feet 1 is a woman. The weather up here is 39 degrees Fahrenheit with a light breeze. I'm sure I'm in the 1% of wedding attendants. I started as a wedding DJ when I was 18. For several years, I was doing 40-50 weddings a year. I ended up doing DJ, photo, and video at my business in Vegas. For several years, I was a part of at least 250 weddings a year, sometimes 2-3 a day. My record was 7 ceremonies in one day. November 11, 2011. I retired from weddings at 44 years old, so 26 years in total. I estimate I have been worked at well over 2,000 wedding ceremonies, probably closer to 2,500 to 2,600. Interestingly, I've only been a participant in 2 weddings. Mine is the groom and my best friend is best man. According to my step counter, walking, not even kidding, I manage a warehouse and walk 10 to 15 miles a day at work. Apparently this is more than 99.3% of users. Turns out the one thing I'm exceptional at is the one thing almost everyone can do. Yay! Only 2% of pregnant women experience 2 miscarriages in a row. Only 1% of women experience 3 miscarriages in a row. I have had 5 miscarriages in a row and I fully hate any type of statistics now. Statistics used to make me feel safe. Now I just know how easy it is to be on the wrong side of them. Eyesight. I have 20 out of 10 vision. Turns out only about 1% of people have better than normal 20/20 vision. My actual name. My last name is one of the rarest in the country and I am the only person with my name out of the entire population. Having a famous parent. He's famous in another country which allows me to live a normal life. Second generation deaf and black dude. Probably less than 0.5%. Supporting both black and deaf mommy and daddy is pretty hard. I suffer from a relatively harmless phenomenon called aphantasia. I am incapable of conjuring images inside my head. I know what object or thing I'm supposed to think about, but all I see is nothing. When I dream, I know what's happening and what I'm supposed to see, but it's just a whole lot of nothingness. I guess you could say I'm blind in my mind. Apparently around 1% of the population suffer from this weird condition. Must be nice having a screen in your head that shows anything you can imagine. Birth control. 99% effective, right? I'm living proof of the 1% XD. It's cool though. My parents never acted like they didn't want me. I fall asleep in 5 to 10 minutes after my head hits the pillow, mostly around the 5-minute mark. Long time ago, when the Wii was the newest console, there was a free downloadable game there, which was Crystal Defenders, a tower defense game inspired by Final Fantasy. Once you finished the campaign, you could compete in the high score for some of the last level. I placed as high as number 17 worldwide, and no other Canadian was above me. Still proud of that one. Lol. As a Lithuanian, I belong to a nationality that makes up 0.03% of the world population. Tenor voices. I'm a professional opera singer and have also performed in a rock band, a state champion collegiate a cappella group. Have been on international television as a soloist. Was paid to sing High Mass at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican in front of the cardinals, and was just on stage with Sir Mix-a-Lot. I gotta be in the top 1% of hairiest itches in North America, especially if we're looking at Caucasian women only. I am left-handed, have red hair, and blue eyes. I do not know if that makes me 1%, but it has to be pretty close. I'm in the 1% of thickest Boston accents in America, thanks to growing up in Boston. I can throw a 16-pound shot put over 20 meters or 66 feet 8 inches. Not a ton of real-world applications except when asked what you are in the top 1% of. Degrees. I have a BA, MA, JD and 2 PhDs. If I'm not mistaken, less than 1% of the world has that many, and neither should I. Ghost Recon Wildlands top 1% of players with the most kills according to the Ubisoft app. Infertile people. The people who can't have children after a year of trying, for whom no treatment works, have no diagnosis to explain why, and end up the 1% of the 1% and move on to surrogacy gestational carrier.